Welcome to our webinar series, and I'm super excited about today's because it's our official webinar where the ERG movement with Maceo Owens and Epoch, our team, are officially partners, and we've been announcing it for the past few weeks. And so this is our first webinar together as a partner. We've done one or two and a few engagements in the past, and we've always been huge fans of the ERG movement. We also been orbiting around the same spaces. So it feels like this was just a natural progression of where we've been, especially between at least what I believe in terms of a lot of the playbooks, the processes, and the ways that Maceo talks about in terms of ERGs, the future of it, how she continues to iterate, really speaks to, I think, how our team thinks about, that as well, and, how the future of technology can support that sort of progression. And so that's a little bit of context of why we're super excited about this partnership. And for those who are new to this webinar series, we're Epoch, we're an employee experience platform, and we host these to bring the community together to share learnings. And so these are some of the partners that we get to work with to essentially build the future of employee experience. And one of the biggest things that we've seen be a driver of that across the different areas of employee experience and engagement is through a lot of a company's ERGs and culture communities. Hence why we're hosting this one, especially for ERG Week. Happy ERG Week to everyone. Super excited about this, Maceo. It must be crazy for you right now. So I'll just maybe hand it over to you to do a quick intro because I know everyone here is super excited to see you.
Well, I'm super excited to hear from everyone. And yeah, even just seeing all the folks in the chat, some I know, some I don't know. All right, well, excited to get started. For those who don't know, my name is Maceo and I go by the ERG Homegirl. She, her pronouns, all things ERGs. I've been actually an ERG leader once in the past. Eventually, I became a program manager, and now it's been a little bit over 2 years that I've been helping folks all over the world with their ERG programs. As Keith mentioned, we've kind of orbited around the same circles. And in these past 2 years that I've been helping companies, I've been kind of like on the hunt of who to like tell people to go to when it comes to software. So just side note, so I actually, after talking to them all, Epoch is like seriously the one that I actually said this is the best one of them all. And that is a high bar, I'm not gonna lie. So anyway, excited for our partnership and also for what we're going to be talking about here today.
Amazing. Thank you, Maceo, for all of that. And yeah, so for today, what we're going to be talking about is really focused on ERG and AI, as you can see, in automation. And so what you can expect for this little quick webinar, because we're trying to be a little bit more efficient with these webinars. We don't want to draw them out. We may go a little bit over time, I think, just given how we started, but just we'll keep you all posted on that. Feel free to drop if you have to go at the end. But what we're going to talk about is Maceo will walk us through her ERG AI and automation exercise and learnings. And then from there, we will showcase a little bit of what we're building here at Epoch to sort of support that with our own AI technology and our own agent that we've been launching for the past few weeks. It's been in beta, so super excited to showcase to some of you all here. I see a few of our existing partners that are leveraging it, so welcome. Super excited to show you the future state of it. And then, of course, we'll have some Q&A at the end. So feel free to think of your questions throughout this or even right now and drop it in the chat or send it over to James. And then we will all then essentially wrap up with some announcements of Epoch's next phase of events. So with that, I will pass it off to Maceo to get us started with ERG, AI, and automation.
Awesome. All right, let me get this screen shared here. Okay, I think we should be in the clear. I already did my intro, so we don't have to go into that. That said, I'm starting a little bit intensely with this image here, but just follow with what I'm going to say here. Oftentimes, I liken ERG programs to a restaurant. And if we're being honest, like the back end of a lot of restaurants, aka how the operations of our ERG program, if it was a restaurant, sometimes can be a little bit of a mess. Like I said, I know I'm starting off kind of intense, but I think it helps us to get to the happy thing here. Where oftentimes actually I hear folks like talk about the ERG programs and call it the Wild Wild West, which I feel like that's a scary thing to reference a program as, especially one that has executive attention and budget and all these things. So that said, even then, I kind of have a framework on what I talk about on how you can improve your kitchens so that they're no longer a mess. And this is what's going to inform the conversation of us talking about AI and automation when it comes to our programs. Also, as a side note, I do like a survey of like pain points of people that people have in this space. A lot of these you might relate to. The reason I show this is because actually the framework that I use is really like a solve to all of these issues here. High level, it's the three P's of ERGs: purpose, process, programming. It comes from the business world. In the business world, it's known as people, process, products. So just kind of like taking those frameworks, putting them into ERG spaces. Purpose is understanding why our program exists, what's in scope versus what's out of scope. Process is having clarity on how things are done within our program. And we'll mention this shortly, but that's more than just uh, an actual handbook. There's actually more to processes than handbooks, which was a big learning for me this year. And then lastly, there's programming. And programming, that's the things that our ERG leaders do to actually like well, let me rephrase that. Programming is like the food of our restaurant. So that's what we serve our members. So that would be our events, our communications, and our activities essentially. So that's where the ERG leaders come in, is typically on the programming side. Now, that said, again, if we have clarity on these three things, it helps us to have, or even if we understand what they are, it helps us to understand where the gaps are within our program. Because for a lot of companies, when they first started their programs, they completely skipped over the first two and just jumped straight into programming. And right now that we see a lot of burnout from leads and low engagement from ERGs because those first two P's aren't together. And again, all of these things could really be solved with a mix of these three P's. So, helpful note for you all. I don't mind sharing the deck if it's helpful for folks too, because I see that question here in the chat. All right, now this is where this conversation takes a turn for us because when it comes to processes or when it comes to automation and AI, you might have seen the title slide where it said, I think it was like strong processes and strong programming, something like that. Really, I say that to say this is where those two things come in. AI and automation is when it comes to our process. So, second P and the third P, programming. So, how AI can be used for ERG leaders. Now, I know a lot of people on this call are probably program managers over an ERG program. So there's so much to be said about ERGs when it comes to that second P, process, that we'll touch on. Again, process is more than just a handbook. To illustrate this, I kind of like to think of an orchestra. So, yes, when you go to an orchestra, and I talk in illustrations in case you can't tell. When you go to an orchestra, like you have the audience, that would be like our members. You have the musicians, those are like the ERG leaders playing music, aka doing programming. You have the conductor, which is probably a lot of the folks here on this call, people who are over the program. But then the reality is that for a good orchestra to take place, you also have like the people who behind the scenes who make a lot of the stuff happen with the lighting, with the setup of the chairs, with all the things, the transition between sets and things like that, like stagehands maybe. Now, here's the reality right now of where the ERG space is. As the person over the program, yes, we are the conductor. We kind of give the strategy to the ERGs, which is great. But also, we are the stagehands if we don't have strong operations. And this is like a big realization that I had this year in realizing that even again, if we were to have processes like how to do things, that still doesn't make up for the fact that there's a lot of things behind the scenes that have to take place that oftentimes us as the person over the program, like we end up chasing people down, asking for reports, asking for, hey, did you send this invite out? All of those things. That is essentially the operations and actually our operating system of our ERGs. And again, the reality is every ERG program has an operating system, but for the most part, that is us as the program manager. And it's something that we did not know. It does not come on like the job overview of what we're doing. It's just something that we kind of fall into oftentimes. So, I say all that to say, well, what does this look like when we introduce AI and automation? I like to talk about it in this exact order. So, first, starting with automation, then to AI, then to agents. This is like the order that we should approach it, especially for a lot of folks in this space. Again, knowing that oftentimes our processes are not where they should be right now. This is why I say this. Starting first with automation, which I like to define things too, just so that we're on the same page. And I really like this definition: the use of technology to perform tasks with minimal human intervention. Oftentimes with automation, it's something that is repeatable and there's clear steps to it. Like this happens, then this happens, then this happens. Very little like decision making needed. It's just like something triggers something else to happen, kind of like a domino effect. This is something that I say if you are going to start introducing automation or AI, automation, all the things into your program, oftentimes I'll even just say, like, when we think about AI, and I know a lot of companies are pushing this, and the question is, well, how do we incorporate that into our program? The first level of it is automation, because if you can't automate something, then you definitely can't AI it, which we'll explain simply. Really, when it comes to processes, if you're not able to articulate step by step those clear things, again, like that domino effect, to have things happen in your program, it's going to be near impossible for you to articulate it to a robot that just kind of does things. Again, when we think about automation, it's not something that is making decisions, kind of like ChatGPT. That's like ChatGPT or AI is like a brain. Automation is like the body that just kind of does stuff. Hopefully that makes sense. Actually, put a one in the chat so far if this makes sense, and put a two if it doesn't. I just want to make sure that we're clear on what I'm saying before I go into this. Okay, I see some ones. All right. So again, to that point, we have to clarify what the process is first. And this is a huge opportunity right now in the ERG space, is to have that clarity on processes. Now, um, because I only have so much time, I'm not going to go into the details on what it looks like to clarify processes, because I did a session on that recently with a lot of program managers. And I have like an article that you all can have handy. Actually, I'll find the link, and before the end of this webinar, I'll drop it in the chat. This way you can go check it out, where I lay out the 5 steps when it comes to building processes, because again, this is a huge gap right now. But once you have this, once you have processes, then it makes it easy for you to then start to identify what you want to automate from your processes. Now, here's the important thing too. A lot of people automate the wrong things when they first start. We typically well, 2 things with automation. One, keep in mind, automation should subtract. It should not add. Especially as program managers, we have enough things on our plate. It's going to be more of a headache if you're having to babysit something that is automated and now it's just more work. So by you implementing something, automation, it should actually decrease the amount of work. This is important because sometimes there's some shiny automations that like we're excited about, and then we end up like setting it up, and then it's just something that's always a headache. So I like that framework. Also, too, when I think about how we can start using automation internally, I actually would say start with processes that you own. Don't start with the things that the ERG leaders do, because then if it breaks, they are going to be coming to you all the time. And now it's going to be such a headache. Start in a safe space where only you would be affected if it didn't work. So even then, when I talk about starting with you, simple kind of like matrix you can map things out on. List out all the tasks that you do as it relates to your ERG program and map them like this based off of lift versus impact. So how much time does it take for you to do that thing, and how much impact does this give? Honestly, I kind of reversed this, so I kind of changed my mind on how I would do this. So just know that there's different ways that you can do it. Lift versus impact could be how long it takes for you to implement, or it could be how long it takes for you to do that thing. I would actually view this as probably like how long it takes for you to do the thing. This will make sense in a second. And like I said, you can take screenshots, have the deck, have at it. But basically, after you have them in categories, that's when you can decide what you want to do. The major thing that I would switch is because this is based on the fact of like, if this is something that takes a lot of your time in a on a monthly or quarterly cadence, then this applies. Where I would say, if it's high lift, high impact, then maybe focus on one per quarter. If it's high lift, well, anyway, it makes sense in that context, but in the opposite context, it doesn't. Point is, organize the like make a list of the things that you do and organize it and separate it in a way that makes sense to you. And then just pick a quadrant that you want to focus on. That's the main thing here. Because I'm doing the speed version here. So that's the main thing that I want you all to take away from that part. Okay. Now, AI. This is the second part. We have automation, AI. So with AI in particular, that is not something that you want to probably lean into heavily when it comes to your processes, believe it or not. Now, you can use it to like add or like make a process more comprehensive or like put it in third grade reading language. I know that that's like kind of a hack, and that's an important one too. I always like to say like we want to make it so that ERG work takes as little brain cells as possible. Not that like people are stupid, but I mean we're like they're volunteers that are leading the work, so how can we make it easy for them is the point. So in that capacity, maybe, but I would not just say, hey, we need to build out our ERG processes and just use AI end to end to do it by itself because it's going to do terrible, honestly. One, the current content on the internet as it relates to ERGs is not that great. And right now, that's what it's pulling from. And I'm here to tell you, I have to correct the AI all the time. They're like with just bad recommendations. Plus, if it doesn't have like good information, it'll just start making stuff up. And again, some of this stuff is not good at all. And you don't know what's not good until you like make mistakes. And trust me, I've been using AI when it comes to ERGs for the past 3 years. I've learned. So just know I wouldn't like put a lot of pressure on that. Also, your documentation is probably not AI parsable. That's a really big thing. Nerdy kind of definition here. I promise I'll be done, Keith, in like 3 minutes. I'll have it done at the 25-minute mark. Um,
There's no rush.
okay. For like AR parsable documentation, this basically means so that the AI can read it. A big mistake right now, which is so interesting because pre-AI, I would have definitely said you should have a very pretty handbook that's easy for leads to navigate. And I still think that you should have that, but you're probably also in the future going to have a version of your documentation that is AI friendly versus just lead friendly. So you're probably going to have two versions of this handbook. And the AI friendly one is going to have to be one that is more parsable. Now, what are some elements of AI parsability? So I have actually. Yes, I do have that here, I think. Let's see. Next page. Okay, cool. Some quick tips for you when it comes to AI parsing. And actually, I want to read it off of here because that's going to be easier for me to keep up with them. Okay, consistent section headers, that's important. Oftentimes, just think about it like accessible documentations. Oftentimes, you use consistency when it comes to the structure, bolding, like you use the actual like head, like H what am I trying to say? Header one, header two kind of formatting there. That's super important. Um, Also for each section having the same like frameworks for each section. So the ones that I have written down here is like, what's the purpose of this step? What are the things that um actually I don't want to confuse you all. So just know, basically I'll say this. If you have your documentation broken up into sections, then you should have the same sections for each section. Like, hopefully that made sense. Okay, like I said, it's the speed version, and I just want to keep it concise. Thing two, numbered action-oriented instructions. This one is important. Don't have like long paragraphs, but be very specific. Do this thing, then do this thing, then do this thing, which is going to be interesting based on what we say for AI agents. But just know when it comes to having something readable by AI, that's a really good format to have. Three, defining key terms and sticking to them. There's so many different definitions when it comes to leads, when it comes to what an ERG is, when it comes to what an exec sponsor is. There's so many different definitions all over the internet and across companies. So you should have a glossary of terms as well. Four, use examples for every rule or template. So don't just say like, do this thing, like give an example of what good looks like. And then also one idea per line. So don't like ask for like three things in one sentence, or like say to do like three things in one sentence, split it up. So just some quick tips there. All right. Next up, smart automation, which was that's like the combination between AI and automation, smart automation. But what that basically goes by nowadays is agentic AI. I guess that's like the fancy word for it. Now with this, again, it's the next step of AI. So now you have like a brain, you have like the body that can do the thing. So now it's able to do things on its own and make decisions, which that's a game changer. And this is coming at us so fast in the space right now when it comes to agentic AI. And honestly, if you're not this is a train that you want to hop on. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna go down the doom and gloom route that I went on last week when I was talking to a group of folks, but just know you want to be ahead of this so you actually know how to leverage it before it's leveraged on your behalf. All right, cool. I think we get the message here. So some tips when it comes to agentic AI, although I don't think that as program managers, I don't think we need to be doing this yet because I think we need to focus on the processes because we don't have that yet very well, much less the parsable documentation. Tips when it comes to that. One, I said separate signals from tasks. I wanted to have this here. Okay, cool. So that means that you have to be clear on, for instance, if the thing is doing things on its own and it's making decisions, you have to make it clear like what is something that would happen, like the trigger, and then what are the tasks that it would do if this thing happens. So if X happens, Y happens. Like we need to be clear on what X and Y is. Kind of nerdy, I know, but I'm just if you are there yet, then great. This is super helpful. If you're not, disregard and just focus on processes. Convert the processes into decision points instead of steps. Like I said, this is actually the opposite of what you would do for process, like just AI parsing. This one you're saying like if X happens, do Y. So that's basically what I just said versus steps in linear motion because it's making decisions, that means that there's different options of what could happen. Define its actions inventory, so all the things that it should do and also what's out of scope. This way it doesn't like guess and start breaking things. Um, Mapping like every single aspect of what the agent would do, especially verification. And then lastly, boundaries. Again, what's out of scope. That's like the long short of it. But right now, most important thing that you can do is focus on getting your processes AI or automation worthy. That's like kind of the big thing. So that's my speed version. I tried so hard to do that in like 10 minutes and yeah. But hopefully
No,
that was like a little mini education lesson.
no, that was incredible. And honestly, Maceo, if you wanted to talk a little bit more about it, I think it should be fine. Everyone here, we are like, the time block here is till 11:30. So if you do need to hop, please hop. But because it's recorded, I'm thinking, Maceo, if you want to add in more content, like we can just keep going until, we get all the information out. But let me know.
Well, I mean, that is pretty much what I was going to say.
Okay.
So I did cover everything. I just covered it in a speedy manner. That said, I mean, I will say as the segue to what you're going to say, what's really cool is that there's only one agentic AI out there as it relates to ERGs that I would even trust to like with a 10-foot pole. And that is what you all have. So, as a segue, I do think that even though I don't think that as program managers, that should be our main thing right now is building out agents because we probably don't have the other things. We can definitely leverage what Epoch has because I think it's actually super cool. And I don't say, again, I don't just say that for anybody. So yeah.
I feel the love. But I was gonna say the reverse actually with you as well, because as I've been implementing the agent with our beta customers, all the cracks that you've just mentioned was revealed by our agent in terms of companies who have been, and not to their fault, right? Because a lot of times program managers are under resourced, have been just relying on manual processes and manualness of all these separate things that when, to your point, when they're almost like forced to be like, you've got to use AI now, especially just by chance, the leadership team needs the whole company to be more efficient. They're just,
Hmm.
okay, let's just like railroad something in. And of course, with us, for the customers that have been with us for a longer time, they have a little bit more foundation of tracking all of their programming in one place at least before, and then leveraging our AI agent was a little bit easier because it's already streamlined. But for newer customers, I think, and newer
Hmm.
clients who are just getting into the space, as great as of course me, I want to have people use the agent more, the cracks do show, and we do have to work on that first and scale back the tech for a little bit, bring folks like you, especially you, Maceo, to some of those clients to work on smoothing out those foundations, smoothing out those playbooks, even to your point in terms of how you could structure in terms of your playbooks so that the agents and the LLMs can actually understand it is more important than I think anyone imagine. Like everyone thought they could just copy and paste whatever they have into these areas and then be like, bam, it'll work. It is not working because one, as exciting as the technology is, it is still very new. And the technology is only as good as, to your point, the brain that you put into it. So that hopefully segues nicely to the other part. So those slides, Mesa, we're gonna talk more about those because like I didn't realize how on point those are. So we're gonna have a lot of fun, I think, working on this. But yeah, for the segue and for those who feel like they need to hop, feel free to hop. We do know it's going to go a little over, but because it's recorded, I just want to make sure that we talk through all of the content. So when we upload it, it's going to be there for you. So for this part of it, it dovetails nicely to Maceo's point in terms of, okay, maybe you're at a good spot now with the foundation, with your processes. Where do you think you can get to with your AI adoption? And so this is a good rubric that I've been working with our clients on in terms of where they believe they are at as an organization, as a program, or even as an individual user of AI, of where they think they are. A lot of folks are sort of in that information retrieval part of their AI journey. And so what that means is really just leveraging ChatGPT, leveraging Claude, or any of those like prompting tools and get a more refined answer or, refining their task. The harder thing, to Maceo's point, is getting that task orchestration and multi-tool execution, because that is a lot of complexity. And it's for you as program managers to really have a true hand on what exactly is happening across, your programming. And that comes with a lot of intention, a lot of thought, and a lot of foundation building that may have been overlooked in the past because of the situations and maybe the under-resourcing we were in. And now we just got to hopefully catch up to that or leapfrog totally with some of the technology or support that we have in the market. And so in order for multi-tool execution, to Maceo's point, to work well, you will need to have a very deep understanding of how your organization leverages processes, how your ERG leaders are working in terms of their programming, and also just, your own strategy and intention on how you want to grow that program within the culture of your company. And what we've built here at Epoch is that because we've been started this technology company for the past 3 to 4 years, we've had really early customers that believed in this vision, and now we're finally here with the technology. We first really focused on streamlining all of the separate tooling. So the main ones that I think a lot of organizations use are Teams, Slack, email, calendar. And so we built first and foremost to consolidate all that tooling. That's super important for you all here if you're thinking of how to leverage agents. They're not going to be able to work for you if you don't have anything in place to integrate and have your 3 or 4 separate tools talk to each other. So that's the biggest thing that you all need to start thinking about a little bit is, and I love that quote, Maceo, like you got to leverage AI before it leverages on your behalf. We are going to that situation in that world. It's exciting, but we also got to be prepared. And the biggest thing that in terms of a technology perspective that I've been seeing that customers are focusing on or struggling with is one, not only the process place, but also the streamlining of their own technology stack and how to make sure that they have tools in place for have them all to talk to each other, because they've been in a world where they just lived with disparate tools. And so just a quick showcase of how it looks if you do have all these things in place. And, I just want to quickly showcase how that vision and that future could look with our technology. And I'll quickly showcase it is our Agent Epoch here. And so this is just a quick walkthrough of how it can work for you all in terms of if, again, you have the processes in place and you have the tooling in place. So super exciting. This is our agent here on Agent Epoch. And what we want to do here is essentially build an ERG event as an ERG lead. And so you can just prompt this agent to do that. And what's exciting about it is, to Maceo's point, we built it so that it pulls from your own organization's processes and playbooks. But the trick here is, and this is where everyone gets tripped up sometimes, is if they're not good enough and they're not well built enough, this agent will hallucinate. It will maybe give you the wrong event. We have some instances that we've seen that, like I'm going to be very honest with you all, but that's the exciting part as well, because we can improve that when we see those. And if anything, the agent showcases those areas for you to improve. So again, you can leapfrog that agentic adoption. And so what we're able to do is if all of your things are in place and they all look good, our agent will be able to think on your behalf and execute. So it'll create the event for you, write everything up for you. It will find the guest list where you can approve it. This is the one thing we make sure that, we want that human touch because you don't want to spam the whole organization by accident. And just like that, the agent on your behalf in the background did everything else to create a good running program for you. It created the questionnaire for your employees at large input. It created all the reminders and announcements. This used to take our ERG leads or program managers hours. And it's actually one of the contributing factors to burnout is all this administrative stuff that nobody really wants to do, but is important to make sure your event is successful. So write it all for you. It will be able to your companies, and this is the one thing that you need to be in place in terms of your process. What is the optimal reminder for your communication internally at a company? Because some companies are okay with just giving tons of messages. Everyone's an adult, they can figure out what is important. Some companies are more intentional. We don't want to bother them. We want to make sure employees are focused. So depending on where you're at in that spectrum, that needs to be also added into your playbook, which a lot of folks didn't know before we leveraged this agent. And we're like, okay, you got to actually work with maybe your internal comms team to get that best practice also inputted. And then, of course, all those reminders will be sent. Feedback form is also be created. This is the number one thing that gets forgotten when things are created is feedback form, which is really important because you want that data after the event is happening. You can talk about how things went. And from there, you can publish the event. It will, because we are a multi-tool execution agent, we handle your calendar invitation, will be sent for you. As people register, we'll keep track and let you know what's happening. The event page will be created for folks. It will even be smart enough to tell you as a program manager or ERG lead how your event is going in the middle of it being published to before it happens. So it can recognize, hey, look, there's 30 people that are maybe for this event. Maybe you want to create a quick reminder for them to see if they can tell you yes or no, because you're going to be ordering mooncakes. Quick fact, Mid-Autumn Festival is my favorite holiday. And you don't want to waste those mooncakes. So it's like, of course, yes, please tell these people who are set as maybe to give them a reminder to tell me yes or no, because I need to know if they're going or not. And our agent will not only give you that notification, it won't send you back to the tool to write that reminder. It will write it for you. All you have to do is approve it. And from there, it will send it out to all your guests, and you'll have either reduction of attrition, or you'll also know who actually is going, so you don't have to move and order as many mooncakes. And then last but not least, I just want to showcase, because data is going to become even more important as we automate things, because what is our free time going to be doing? It's going to become more strategic, and how we're going to be more strategic is with the right data. And so for those who are here who know Epoch as version 1, we do have some data in terms of our static dashboards, right? And it does give you a good sense of how things are going. But from what our team is seeing in the future, we think this is going to be dynamic in the future in terms of data collection. And so what we're also building out is what we're calling Agent Insights, which will essentially give you a dynamic view of whatever information you need. It won't be stuck to whatever dashboard's being created. It will take your prompt and it will try its best to find you exactly the type of answers in terms of the insights for you in a quick and easy way. If you just need a quick, pulse check, or if you do need a little bit more in terms of the visualizations for your leadership or for yourself, it will also be able to do that. And so this is just a little bit of a preview of what we believe AI and agents can, support you on the program managers. But I'll pause here to see, Maceo, if you had anything to add to this or any questions from the audience.
I do just want to say I think it's super cool what you all have. Like the fact that no one else, like you all have it uniquely. I just love that so much because it's so needed right now. That's something that we don't have to build ourselves. That's the main thing as program managers. And as we talk about the things that we can learn to automate, again, I said focus on us. This is just such a cool thing that allows ERG leads to save so much time. A lot of ERG softwares promise that they save time, but this actually does it. So anyway, that's why I like it a lot. So yeah.
We hope so. And we're super excited to get your input on it as we iterate on it too. All right. So with that, everyone, let me just quickly go through some housekeeping items. Thank you for staying with us for the extra 10 minutes. Really appreciate it. But I also didn't want to rush too much of it because I wanted to get all the content from you, Maceo, and all your genius as well. Okay, let's go through some quick housekeeping items. Epoch is on the road again. And so for those who know, we know we love to get our communities together in the cities that you're in, and of course have more sessions like this live where we talk about essentially talk shop. And so take a screenshot of this. We'll be starting it again in the new year, beginning in Phoenix. Then we're going to go to Denver, LA, San Diego, and San Francisco. We are hosting a little more of a private dinner in San Francisco as well. So if you're interested, just let our team know. We may be able to get you a spot. It'll be on early December, what I believe. And biggest thing is our Epoch Connect 2026. We already started. It's crazy. I feel like we just ended Epoch Connect where we had Maceo, I think. I met you in the first time in person at Epoch Connect this year. And so it's happening next year. We'll probably be doing another workshop as well together, me and Maceo. So, get your tickets now. There's a really early bird discount happening. For those who don't know what happens at Epoch Connect, it's a great conference. This is what it looks like. We even had lion dance happening because I think it always falls on AAPI week or AAPI month. And so great, I'm Asian. And then here are some more pictures of how things are going. There's me and Maceo right there. So again, let's scan the QR code and join us for next year. And with that, thank you everyone for staying, especially those who stayed for the extra 10 minutes. We really appreciate you. And again, happy ERG week. Maceo, is there anything else you wanted to say before we wrap this up?
No, I just answered a question in the chat that I didn't see until now. So answers to that. Yeah,
Oh,
in terms
shoot,
of
I forgot Q&A.
well,
Okay, was
I
there any
think I only saw
Q&A?
the one.
Okay, was there any
Sorry,
Q&A?
sorry about that. Just to jump in, so Maceo, thank you for answering that question. And then one other quick, unless there was anything else you wanted to say on that question, Maceo.
No, I think the answers there are good. So, and actually, basically, I use my AI, which I've been using to build AI things, to say like what best practices have I kind of leveraged, and like what's gone well, what tips, and then write it so that I could send it to you all. So that's what it gave. So yeah, I agree because I guess I those things have existed. Also, I didn't record the Black History Month planning session. I'm just now realizing. So, what I'll say is we have one tomorrow for Women's History Month, and it's the same thing because it's all the same context when it comes to what does it look like to plan a Heritage Month. So, I will probably record that, but I'm also sending like a recap to that too. Um, but yeah, I think that that's a good the answer that I gave to that question around make sure that each agent has one skill set. There's one like verb per action. Don't say like create this and then do this. Like be very clear. That's why I have these categories that you can kind of anchor off of. But hopefully that was helpful. I think that there was a question around like for you all
Yes.
in
There
there.
is one other question for both Maceo and Keith, so anonymous, but you spoke to this briefly. Maceo, you spoke to this briefly. Keith, the new agent, seems to help here as well, but I'm interested to hear from you both here on this question. ERGs are often run by volunteer leads who can experience burnout. How can AI help reduce the administrative load while still empowering human leadership and storytelling at the core? And I think the storytelling at the core is kind of the main question of how you maintain that.
hmm To that point, Keith's point about the dashboards, I think that that's kind of where a dynamic dashboard comes into place because now that lift has been decreased and we have metrics basically happening where we don't have to chase them around, then now we can have use AI to tell those stories that we want to tell. And maybe if we don't have like a strong data arm, it can kind of even tell us how we can communicate our impact better. But go for it, Keith.
Yeah, from just a technology perspective, I guess, because we launched the agent in AI in beta for the past, 2 months now. we did get some anecdotal feedback from some of the ERG leads who are actually excited to plan a few more events or programming because we didn't know this, but there used to be a bit of an inertia in terms of even though they volunteer for it, they're excited for it, but of course work can get busy. The inertia of thinking, oh, I have to plan this event, but then they're thinking of all the other items that they have to do, like all the communications, calendar invites, talking to vendors, talking to the program manager, wrangling the whole company to come. And then they would stop. And so one actually very interesting point that I didn't mention this year in Maceo, I'm not sure if it's something you've also seen, is the DEI budgets and the ERG programming budgets. There's a lot of leftover money this year because a lot of ERG leads didn't use it in terms of what they were assigned. So they each, for those who may not know, a lot of ERGs themselves sometimes get assigned like an amount of money. Each of them get an amount of money, and they can spend it how they want as long as it relates to the mission. But this year, there's so much leftover money that a lot of DEI leaders are getting nervous because it's a weird company thing, but if you don't spend your money, the finance team will cut it for next year, thinking you don't need that much instead of giving you more of the same amount. And so a lot of people are scrambling right now to try to spend as much money as possible and get their end of year events going. But that was the biggest thing that we heard in terms of just like, oh, now that we have this agent, I am a little bit more excited. Before I would dread almost creating those programs or events because I'm thinking of like the 15 other administrative tasks that I have to do. But I'm not sure if that's a sentiment you also have seen in the market, Maceo.
Definitely. I mean, to that point, I can plug, there is a tool that's coming out Friday that'll make it easier for you to spend your budget to ERGs.io, which will be super cool. This way, you don't have to like go scouring the internet for like who you're going to bring in. If you do like want to pay for a speaker, workshop facilitator, things like that, it's all going to be there in one place. So just to say, super excited for that. Because to your point, yes, the leftover budget is such an interesting space to be at right now, where it's actually not the current administration as the reason why budgets are getting cut. It's because we're not spending our budget. So yeah,
There's one more question or two more.
Yeah.
Mason, do you have some time still, or do you have to hop?
I have 3 minutes. I can do a speed answer.
Okay, there's one question where how can we do more with less? ERG budgets are slim.
How slim is slim? Because
Yeah.
there's a difference between 300 and 2000, and 2000 is not slim. It's actually pretty average. But 300, then I would probably anchor a lot more of the budget spend off of how can we reward members for doing certain engaging things. And there's so many things that we can do for free or ask members to do. There's virtual volunteerism events that you can do. There's even like if you want to hop on a call like and play like I don't know, a card game or something like that digitally. You can do that for free online. When it comes to connection, you can have members teach each other things. That's for free. You can have executive sponsors do one-on-one coaching sessions for like in 15-minute increments. There's a lot of cool things. Maybe just use the 300 for like your major month, having members do something big, and then like maybe one person's eligible for one cool prize or something.
Additional context, and this is not that slim in my opinion from what I've seen. It's each ERG from this individual's question has 5K. I think that's actually a good
That's
amount
not slim. Yeah.
of
Not slim. You actually are pretty.
money.
There's a lot that you can do with 5K, honestly. I get that why you would ask that because speakers are like 2,500 like base oftentimes. Although, I mean, check out, our new platform. There are some affordable ones on there as well. But even still, with 5K, you can anchor off of a lot of member prizes. Also, maybe just watch things like asynchronously or maybe live together. Um, and then you can discuss them in a live call. Speakers for shorter time periods will typically charge less, so that could be an angle. There's some creative thing. I think we just have to get more creative in the ERG space and with things like um, Agent Epoch. I think I said that correct. Because it frees up our time in the admin work, we can have more time when it comes to the creative and fun things, like the types of events that we're doing and how we're spending our budget.
Yeah, and I mean, hopefully this is not a plug, but I've been seeing other ERG program managers using that ERG budget as well to get technology. It doesn't have to be Epoch, obviously, for their ERG leads to lessen the load or to get them more excited to do more things. So that's also another angle. that a lot of our customers have been looking about because there's just so much leftover budget right now this year.
Yeah. If it's use it or lose it, definitely use it. If nothing else for the AI, like please, I'm telling you, like if you actually want to save your leads time, it's like an obvious win there.
It could even licenses for like ChatGPT or whatever.
Right.
If your company's is like gatekeeping some of them, because I've heard that too, which is kind of weird,
It is.
but Misa, I know you have to hop, so we will end this here. Thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you, Maceo, for joining us. This was super exciting.
Thanks for having me. Happy
All right.
building, y'all.
Happy building, everyone. Have a great week. Bye, everyone.